Good evening, folks. I'd like to call the... Oops, broken. Happened last night. I'd like to call the Town of Cedar Lake Plan Commission work session to April 5th, 2023 to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First off, I'd like to welcome our newest member, Mr. Hunley. Back again. Welcome, Jim. Roll call, please.
Mr. Carnahan.
Here.
Mr. Foreman.
Present.
Mr. Hunley.
Here.
Mr. Sauer is absent. Mr. Sharp.
Here.
Mr. Parker is absent. Mr. Kapura.
Present.
Mr. Oliphant.
Here.
Mr. Austin.
Present.
Mr. Salatas.
Present.
Ms. Abernathy. Present. Ms. Hyduk is present.
Okay, item number one, the work session, 9720 West 143rd Avenue, rezone preliminary plat and site plan. Owner Howard J. and Susan J. Skorka, 15714 Colfax Street, Lowell, Indiana. Petitioner Boyer Construction Group Corp., 9901 Express Drive, Highland, Indiana. Vicinity of 9720 West 133rd Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Petitioners are requesting a rezone from B1 and B3 to commercial PUD, preliminary plat for a two-lot subdivision and site plan approval. Mike.
Good evening. I'm Bruce Boyer of Boyer Properties, and with me is Russ Posen of BVG. We're here tonight seeking those items you just mentioned. This property is located at 9720 133rd, the former site of the Italian Ice Building that is there. There's an existing building on the property. We're proposing to redevelop that into a two-lot subdivision. One lot to be for Centier Bank, and the second lot to be for a small commercial building. We were before you, I think, in December, presented the site plan and the project to you at that time. And it was suggested that we pursue a planned unit development project rather than a whole bunch of variances needed. So we're back tonight presenting that. We've presented our planned unit development documents. We've had some replies to that from the towns, some of the staff, and really there's nothing so far we've seen that is an issue. We've submitted the subdivision plat, and we've submitted the engineering drawings for review and approval with that. So we're basically here tonight to review any of those documents, answer any questions you have. We'd like to proceed to a public hearing if at all possible.
Okay.
Is the Italian Ice Building going to stay on the property?
No, the entire site's going to be cleared.
Okay.
That's coming down. There's some old foundations from a previous building on the western side of the property.
Sure.
Everything's coming out.
Okay.
Ashley, what were the last things when we ended this subject a couple of months ago? Was it the parking by the commercial building or something?
There had been discussion about a cross-access easement agreement, all the variances that would be needed, and it was suggested at that time they take a relook at it, potentially look at going it into a PUD development instead of doing the two-lot subdivision with the site plan and all the variances that would then be needed, because we were looking at front yard setback, rear yard setback, potential lot coverage.
Side yard.
So there would have been a lot of variances that would have been needed to make this project happen. So at the time, it was suggested by Mr. Osham to go with the commercial PUD for the two-lot sub.
That's right. Okay, thank you for the recap.
We will have cross-access and cross-parking between the two lots on the property.
Okay.
And cross-detention. Detention for both lots will be located underground, essentially on the west lot, underneath the pavement.
Okay, I see it. Very nice plans.
Yeah.
Very detailed. Thank you.
Thank you. We've also included in our plan unit development, our PUD documents, some of the signage requirements for Centier and for the future retail buildings, so we've tried to get very detailed and specific about that. The Centier building is similar to one we built about a year and a half, 2 years ago in St. John. A little bit smaller, but the same look.
By that crew car wash over there,
Yeah,
and the Wendy's.
yes, yeah.
I like where you got the dumpster stashed, that's a good hiding spot.
On the lot 2, the east side,
Yeah, on the
Yep.
west side.
west side, oh, yep, there you go.
Now that you say it on the east side, where's that at?
It is adjacent to the building on the east side. It is intended to be more of a roll-up. It won't be your typical front load.
Oh, I see it, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to wheel it out and then they go,
Yes,
Wheel
back
out.
in.
Yep,
that's
yep.
correct.
okay. And what are you showing for screening on the east and the west? Does one of these show it? I'm not.
We do not have the landscape plan shown here.
Well, we will, I think we're required to have fencing along the east side where it actually, the driveway is actually leading back to the apartment complex. We're considering that residential. So we'll have to screen that side. We'll also have to screen the rear of the property for the
So
fence.
you're thinking 6 foot? Okay.
Any other questions? Building department?
We have a couple preliminary comments that I need to get over to you, Mr. Boyer. For example, in permitted uses, you have animal hospital, but in your prohibited uses, you have animal clinic. So just a couple cleanups. It was noticed by one of the other abilities in the building department to refer to parcel 1 and lot 1. So just making it all cohesive and then adding in all your setbacks, making sure we get that in the PUD as well.
Okay, very good.
Don, have you got anything on this yet, or?
We received it on Tuesday, so it's in our queue. We're looking at it. But
Okay.
nothing tonight.
Anybody else?
Will the drive-through ATM stay where it's at, or it's gonna be relocated over by the new bank?
There will be a new drive-through.
It's going to be relocated. They're currently in the Strax, and they'll be leaving there.
No, he's referring to, the thing over there by the Hanover Township trustee's office.
Just south of that.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, as far as I know, that's going to be relocated to this facility. They won't maintain 2 of them.
Okay.
Looks like I got a switch from Chase, they left us in
Yep.
high and dry.
That's gonna work.
Looks good to me, Mr. Chairman.
Looks good to me also.
Well, if there's nothing else, then I guess we'll say you win.
2 weeks.
We'd like to be 2 weeks if that's possible.
If you got all the information to Ashley that she needs, yeah.
Work closely with staff and our town engineer.
Yep.
Okay.
I think we're
We'll
And the
coordinate with Don about everything.
Chairman,
Tight.
Sounds good.
Mr. Chairman, we still need to look at the
Yeah.
documents. I asked Bruce tonight for a copy of the Word version, so those comments are still coming also. They'll come with Don.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll have discussion on that at the next meeting.
Well, we haven't reviewed it. It hasn't settled into being ready.
Okay, sounds good?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
this will add to our TIF district too.
It will.
And actually, we'll discuss with you, because Katie from our staff could help a lot.
Absolutely.
And then we'll check, probably to help if there's anything.
Did you guys not bring Howard Skorka with you?
We did not.
I was looking around the room for him, I didn't see him.
I did the same thing.
Yeah. Mr. Corcoran,
Okay, item 2, owner petitioner Michael and Nancy Shander, 3452 Sally Drive, Stater, Illinois. Enterprise LLC, 7329 McConnell Avenue, Lowell, Indiana. Sensitive 13221 Colfax, 13131 Colfax, 13137 Colfax, and 13177 Colfax Street. Petitioners are requesting vacation of the Obadiah Taylor subdivision. The petitioners here? Anybody?
I am not seeing the petitioners or their attorney. They were invited back this month from last month's meeting after they first appeared in front of you.
Could it be they got the time messed up?
I can't speak for that.
Okay.
No one's online either for that item?
Okay.
Did you want?
So, Mr. Chairman, they're getting rid of the subdivided subdivision so that they can what? Then create their own new subdivision, Ashley?
Actually, the problem I think that they're facing is that they have to develop the street and utilities for all three parcels that they have there. And they only want to build on the front parcel, so they're thinking that if they go back to vacate what they have now and go back to original, which the seller had done a couple years ago, that they would be in a better position financially to do it. And that's about where we left it off. Yeah.
They didn't know that, they had to put the road and everything in, and we were trying to see if we could work with them to try and get it so they can build, because they invested all their money into this property and, weren't told all this stuff, I guess, from what they told us.
Yeah. If they have 4 separate lots, there's 4 lots here, and they're gonna, well, 3, okay. If they're gonna develop, if they say do get it vacated back, and if they develop just to build on the first lot, do they have to bring the street past the next 2? Do they have to bring the street in front of all 3 lots?
Technically, yes.
Technically, yeah.
But not if they make a one-lot subdivision and enter their subdivision lot
It's lot frontage.
at the south side.
So,
Doesn't matter.
to
You can't get away
address
from it.
that point,
They can waive it.
You can waive it.
Right, this board could waive it.
Yes.
You can waive
Yeah,
it.
I think it makes no sense to make them put a road in if the guy on the west side just benefits from it.
so if I
know
may,
the
with
rules are.
performance,
Yes.
that's covered in both subdivision and zoning ordinance. So ordinance 498, Title 1, Section 6 says no lot or any interest therein in a subdivision may be sold, nor any permit issued or to erect, alter, or repair any building upon any land in a subdivision unless and until a subdivision plan has received final approval and been recorded, and until the improvements required by the plan commission in connection therewith have been constructed or guaranteed as here provided. Furthermore, prior to issuance of building permits, there shall be a minimum road access standard to provide accessibility for emergency vehicles and installation of back curbs and temporary benchmarks to provide data reference for title grades. Additionally, in Lot 2, or Title 2, we define it as a lot that faces on an improved road, whether private or public, it doesn't matter. And then in Ordinance 1402, Chapter 6.2, Section C, a front yard, each lot shall be on a front on a dedicated and improved street. I went out there. I have photographs in the packet. I went out there, walking down that road, just walking down it. I felt like I was thinking, how do we expect somebody to get equipment out there to build their house and it not get stuck? How do we expect our public safety to get out there in the event of an emergency if we allow them to build on a road that is not up to town standards? And those town standards would have to meet what was approved by all the waivers of the Obadiah Taylor subdivision. Should they vacate it, all those waivers go away and they have to re-go through the whole process again.
Right.
And for you guys to grant a waiver, there are 3 findings of fact that have to be given. That the granting of the waiver will not be detrimental to public health, safety, welfare, or injurious to other property or improvement in the neighborhood which the property is located. The conditions upon which the request for waiver is based is unique to the property for which the waiver is sought and are not applicable generally to other properties. And because the particular physical surrounding shape or topography conditions of the specific property involved, a particular hardship to the owner would result as distinguished from a mere inconvenience if the subdivision control were applied.
I think it's super unique and it's not applicable. So my opinion is if they vacate it, they would meet some of those findings of fact. I mean, right now there's a house on lot 1 and a garage. And there's a cheesy little road out front called Colfax in Cedar Lake, Indiana. Okay? So if they were to access that lot that they're already accessing, what's the difference?
What would prevent a future petitioner coming in on a similar road from making that same argument?
Perhaps.
And
Unique
what type of
property and where it's
precedent would we-
located, it's a dead end. I think there's things that this board has to consider above and beyond the rules. That's my opinion. I thought that back when Mr. Taylor wanted to do something there. You know, there's so many people wanting nice, larger lots, nice, larger homes, and I feel like on these old, unimproved, you know, meets and bounds parcels at one time, this was a meets and bounds until about 2 years ago, that we stumble all over ourselves, not making it easy for people to build a $600,000, $500,000 home in unique spots. And so I respect the rules that we have, but I think in this situation, I would have been good with it 3 years ago when Mr. Taylor wanted to do what he needed to do, and then it had to become a 3-lot subdivision. I just don't see how you can make a person improve the road when the person on the west side will then benefit from it and not have to pay it back, the money that this person has to put in. It doesn't make logical sense to me. So that's my 2%, speaking of stuff. That's all.
Well, the petitioner needs to be here, don't they?
Well,
You
yeah.
can't do it for them.
Yeah, and we just thrown some things out at the
Yeah.
work session, so no decisions can be made. It's good to hear what the other commissioners have to say. You know, I think the whole problem in this situation revolves around the fact that, financially, they cannot put the road in. And Matt said if they could, then they wouldn't even be arguing about it. But with them not being here, I don't think we need to go any further on this.
That's great.
I think we'll just move on, and then, you can notify them that, you know, if they wanna proceed with what their request is, that they have to be at the next work session.
Or they may show up at 7 o'clock thinking the meeting started at 7.
Well,
Well, that's a little late.
Yeah.
yeah, so, but I mean, as it stands right now, that's it. If they show up at 7 o'clock, then we will.
Is that a dedicated street, is that a dedicated street, Colfax Street,
Dedicated right away.
right away? So the town has to sort of maintain it right now, or?
Yeah, we do. That's where the Capers used to live.
Yeah, so the town sort of maintains that right now, or something like that?
But it's unimproved, from the half of lot 2, 3, and 4, if you look at your PDF, it's completely no road. It's just, it's grass,
Yeah,
for the most part.
pretty bad, yeah. Well, anyway, I think, you know, if they do show up after 7, we'll deal with it then. If not, then, they need to be here in, next month for the work session,
Okay.
okay? Moving on. Number 3, petitioner Stephen Colbert, 828 Davis Street, Suite 300, Evanston, Illinois. Property Cedar Lake LLC, proprietors. Cedar Lake LLC, 7949 West 79th Street, Unit 2, Bridgeville, Illinois. Owner Industrial Drive Properties LLC, 11363 West 135th Place, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Petitioner is requesting a concept plan for a site plan for a 2-unit restaurant. We have a petitioner. Moving on. Number 4, ordinance 1458, zoning ordinance amendment, 133rd Avenue Commercial Corridor Overlay District. David?
This is the overlay zoning district project we've been working on at your direction and request for a few months. This creates an overlay on the 133rd Avenue corridor from Parish Avenue west to Route 41. It is for a distance from center line of 133rd Avenue, 350 feet on the east side of that center line, or for a total of 700 feet. The restrictions to this were the important reason for establishing or considering the overlay zoning district, and that is so that property uses would be compatible and made compatible by way of the zoning permitted, and then the uses that required variance of use. Pretty self-explanatory in the ordinance. I would draw your attention to the district boundary, section B, and the permitted uses, section C, on page 2. The uses identified, including those permitted in the underlying B1 and B2 zoning districts, are permitted only upon grant and approval of a variance of use by jurisdictional body. That would be the town council following the BZA public hearing. And you can see on page 3 what those type uses are. We didn't specify each and every use. We described it in categories of uses and with the parameters set forth. So, happy to answer any questions. This has been looked at microscopically in staff and with us. We think it's the method and manner by which you can make compatible for purposes of quality, value enhancement and maintenance, and for comparison and compatible uses in that corridor, the business zoning that you see, or that we think you see. We're not going to take ownership of that until you tell us for sure. Ashley, do you have any comments you want to add to that?
No, I think you pretty much covered it, that the intent is to make that B2 overlay with restrictions as outlaid on page 3, and everything other than that would require a use variance for the BZA and town council.
So the square footage of the lot has decreased? What's this 10,000 square foot on there?
That's the B2 requirement. A B2 lot is a 10,000 square foot minimum.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask?
Yes, go ahead.
Is the entire overlay district all at least 10,000 square feet now, or at least, so it all fits?
Would be.
It'd be pretty close. There'd be maybe a couple under that are legal non-conforming as they sit today,
Okay,
but it'd be close.
okay.
It's a couple that are under 10,000?
This is primarily intended for vacant parcels, and as you know, we studied that. There are very few vacant parcels in the corridor. Redevelopment will give us another set of scenarios, and that's when the minimum yard area was reaffirmed by this ordinance, the minimum.
And we have that automotive place that wanted to go in there on 133rd, so this would stop them from proceeding forward, right?
This would preclude without a variance of use them from proceeding.
And then if Mays or Tom and Ed's was to be unoccupied for 6 months, then somebody come in, they'd have to get...
They'd have to follow the ordinance, Bob, including compliance with the overlay zoning requirements, so that the corridor is compatible in use and type and quality and value, and all the other parcels and properties.
And we're trying to move those into 41 or industrial parks, right?
Well, that's policy objective, for sure. You're not actively involved in doing that, but from a, the town policy perspective, yes.
Have any other questions on it?
No, sir.
I will have a copy of the ordinance available starting tomorrow morning at the front desk. So if anybody wants to come in and view that copy of that ordinance, they are more than welcome. Mr. Austin has got us notice for the April 19th public meeting for this item.
Good. Okay, well then, we can take action on this on April 19th. Okay, sounds good. Update items. Black River Bells LLC site plan update. That's the Taco Bell.
Correct. So they reached out about a month or so ago. They are looking at removing one of the drive-through lanes that initially had gotten approved and reducing the patio area up front. I talked it over with Don, and we felt it best that we present it to you guys. They are online to answer any questions that you may have, so that if you feel that it needs to get a updated site plan approval, that we can have this in front of you for that approval.
Is their builder now licensed in the town to proceed?
To my recollection, he is working on getting his Lake County license so that he can become registered with the town.
Thank you.
What was again, actually remove one drive-through, and what was the other one?
Correct. They had a front patio area that
Front
was,
patio.
that was larger and wider. They have reduced that down.
Thank you.
And the overflow lane is still maintained. So
Overflow is still there,
So
okay.
traffic flow shouldn't really be any different than the original site plan.
Those were our two concerns, right?
Yep.
So they answered that or corrected that.
Just got rid of one menu board and a traffic
Sure,
lane.
sure.
Yeah, I guess patio was eliminated, and just a sidewalk is along the building now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then, if they get you the information, they can show up at the next public hearing?
If that is the direction of the plan commission, I can have it on the agenda for approval in 2 weeks.
I don't see why not, if we got all the questions answered and it's ready to go.
I would agree, John, yeah.
Yeah, let's put them on the agenda and, see you in 2 weeks.
I know some people that are anxious for some Taco Bell.
Oh, man, big old fat burrito.
That's it.
Okay, 2 weeks, we'll see you here.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Building regulations and fee amendments.
Same status as before?
Pardon?
Same status as before?
Okay.
And what is that?
Being worked on.
In process.
We got the 133rd corridor now.
Close. Beacon Point East, Unit 1, performance letter of credit expires May 4, 2023.
Take 3 and 8 together. Chilling Development expressed the desire to roll these into maintenance, so we're currently kind of getting through some of the remaining as-built comments. We completed a field visit last week, and we should have basically a all-encompassing letter out tomorrow to them. So there's going to be some items they need to correct in the subdivision. We have a month, so for Unit 1, Unit 2 doesn't expire till July 28th. So we'll keep you posted in 2 weeks, see where we're at.
Okay. Number 4, Beacon Point West, Unit 5, performance letter of credit expires May 19, 2023.
Chilling Development expressed the desire to reduce that to the minimum, maximum allowable reduction to 25%. We just need to double check what's installed, and we will provide a number to them. So that will likely be on your agenda in 2 weeks as per reduction, but to maintain within performance.
Okay. Number 5, Hanover Community School Corp., performance letter of credit expires May 24, 2023.
Nothing new to report on that one. It's most likely going to be extended in some form, is my guess.
That's the high school, right?
No, that's the middle school.
The middle school?
And elementary school.
Okay.
And the element, and administration?
And administration. And bus barn, if you want to go there.
Number 6, Perez, performance letter of credit expires June 14, 2023.
They're gonna be extending.
Yep.
Number 7, Cedar Lake Storage, public performance letter of credit expires July 1st, 2023.
I haven't heard anything from them. They've got time to complete improvements in that letter of credit if they so desire, but we'll likely reach out to them in the next couple weeks to see where they're at.
Okay. That's all the updates. Public comment? Any public comment? Seeing none, this work session is adjourned, and I'm gonna call to order the special public hearing meeting. Do I need to do roll call again? Pardon?
No.
No?
Let me just, since we're not gonna do a roll call again, Greg Parker texted me and said that his father's having surgery, so he couldn't be here tonight.
Okay.
Oh, bummer.
Yep.
Thank you, Bob.
Hope it all goes well.
Yeah.
Ted's a great guy.
Okay, the Town of Cedar Lake Plan Commission, April 5th, 2023, special public meeting, is now in session. Number one, Railside rezone and preliminary plat, owner In Holdings LLC, 10702 West 141st Avenue, Cedar Lake. Petitioner Visslaw, P.O. Box 980, Cedar Lake, vicinity 10702 West 141st Avenue, Cedar Lake. Petitioner is requesting to rezone from agricultural and R2 to a planned unit development and a preliminary plat for a 29 lot subdivision.
He's online.
Oh.
Mr. Barrett? Mr. President, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Hey, appreciate that. Looking forward to conversing with everyone here this evening, and thank you for allowing me to appear via Zoom on behalf of my client, Head Holdings. I also appreciate the ability of the town to hold a special meeting this evening. As was communicated a couple weeks ago, time is of the essence for this project, and my clients also appreciate the good dialogue back and forth here as we get down to the finish line and ensuring that this project is a win-win for both the developer as well as the town. And I think as of late conversations that we've had this afternoon, I think we've reached that point. At our last meeting, Mr. Chairman, there was a couple of outstanding items that still needed to be reviewed, and I'll briefly go through them and give from my client's perspective as to where we're at. A couple of concerns that were raised at the last meeting that my understanding town engineer and officials still wanted some time to review was some of the transportation studies along 141st. It's my understanding that all parties are, upon review of the 141st and the school crossing, are happy with the way that that's designed and the way that the traffic flow is going to move through there. My clients are paying for all of the improvements that are going to be implemented between the school crossing and 141st, and that's going to allow for a bypass lane to ensure that traffic doesn't get backed up over the railroad tracks. As far as 141st and 41, I think that was the most significant issue that was still awaiting further assessment from the town's traffic study engineer, as well as perhaps even some input from INDOT. There's no doubt that there is continuing increased traffic that's coming from the direction of the lake. In addition to that, there will be some traffic that's generated from my client's folks as well. In addition to that, as I passed on to the Plan Commission a couple of weeks ago, we've got in conversation with the county has acquired all of the land that they need, and it is their plan to go out public for a letting for what they're deeming 5 vehicles to be able to park on the right-hand side as they wait to turn right. They're using, Robin can correct me if I'm wrong, I think 24 feet per vehicle. Perhaps you'd be able to stack more than that, as we know vehicles when they're waiting can go bumper to bumpers up to 9, perhaps can even stack there. What we're finding at the end of the day, very bluntly, is that for those folks that will be waiting to turn left onto Highway 41 from 141st, from between the times of 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the morning and then again in the afternoon, their wait time may be increased somewhere between 5 to 10 seconds, I believe, which for those two particular time periods put that intersection at an F rating according to INDOT. However, we've been in constant contact with NDOT in regards to this, and very pleased to hear back from NDOT in writing that they're very aware of this intersection, number one. Number two, they have indicated that they continue to do traffic studies themselves on this intersection. And the third, and I think most importantly for the town, is we have received confirmation from them in writing that they fully acknowledge that this intersection is under state jurisdiction, and that when the time comes, based upon their markers, to implement additional highway features at this intersection to guide traffic, they have expressed to us in writing that this is going to be on NDOT's cost and not in the town's, nor on any other private developers. And I think that's significant, very positive news. Most importantly, the fact that the state is so aware of this particular intersection that they're closely monitoring it for those factors that indicate when they believe additional measures should be implemented at that intersection. Last two items that I think are critical for us to discuss here. Recently was brought up, and I think this was a good suggestion on behalf of town officials. I think up to date, we had discussed that my clients were free to immediately put down that top coat if they wanted to right away, rather than when we achieve 80% build out. And further dialogue with the town as well as with my client, recognizing that we've got perhaps heavy machinery coming in, a lot of exciting new development here. Perhaps my clients may want to wait to install that. So we've agreed to a mechanism whereby at the end of the day, once my client has conducted a build-out, ensuring that there is a performance, a maintenance bond that is sufficient to ensure if additional repairs need to happen to that top coat, that those areas that are necessary is agreed to with parameters can be remilled and resurfaced to ensure that when the town receives this public infrastructure that my clients are paying for, that they're getting the best bang for their buck and they're getting roadway that's in great condition. The last item that I would mention is in the development agreement that I had sent into the town for approval last week. If you look at 18E, at that point, my clients were willing to contribute per lot for each owner that would be obtaining a building permit, $1,500 towards public infrastructure. In the conversation last week, it was my client's understanding at that point that dollars may be needed for the town to contribute towards the 141st and 41 intersection that was offered up based upon, like I mentioned before, fresh, new, and great information today that the state will be funding any intersection improvements at 141st and 41st. My clients are requesting this evening that that portion be stricken from the development agreement. I believe that captures everything on behalf of my client. There are still a couple of items that Mr. Austin and I are working our way through. Nothing certainly that we disagree on, just minor verbiage, things of that nature. So it's our request that the Plan Commission approve the PUD agreement, development agreement, as submitted this evening, subject to further attorney review and minus section 18E in the development agreement. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Town engineer.
We issued a letter on the 30th. I have 2 points. Nathan, I think as we spoke earlier as a group, that it was we were going to keep it in performance, not maintenance. You said maintenance. You mean maintenance?
I mean what we agreed to before. I was frantically writing from a beach chair, and I apologize.
Oh!
Sorry, pick up here. I'm trying to put warm weather your way. It was performance.
Yeah, we were keeping it in performance, not maintenance. It's a pretty significant difference. The other one would be our kind of recommendation or findings, I guess, from the traffic impact study. Nathan is correct. It is going from a, we'll call it level of service E to an F, which effectively is at capacity and now beyond. Our recommendation is a light goes in sooner rather than later. And we recognize that it is not in the town's jurisdiction and we cannot force NDOT to do it. Our evaluation is that the loading we're putting on that, the stacking we're putting on that from growth and from the site specifically warrants the signal. So that is our evaluation of the information that's been provided. I recognize that NDOT has provided in writing an email that says if it is warranted, they will pay for it all. but nobody knows when that may go in. They're pretty much fiscally budgeted out for 5 years, so you can pretty much assume it's not going in for the next 5 years.
Well, Indiana had all this money in the bank, and we're in the black, and we have
I'm not saying it can't
billion.
be pushed up, but that's kind of something that's out of our
Is that
control.
right, Chris?
They have a significant rainy day fund, but
Yeah.
that's at the governor's discretion roughly, and
He's on his way out,
that's the fact.
and from Indianapolis.
Outside of those two items, we still have a few minor engineering items in our March 30th letter, but those would be the biggest.
Those are
two to
just minor
reference.
roads, Don?
Yeah, we can get
Okay.
through those. We have some stuff to work through, PUD stuff, ministerial, that Dave and I will work out, some stuff we talked about this afternoon. That still needs to be vetted, but we're in agreement for a lot of that stuff.
Thank you.
Building department.
I've gotten comments over to Mr. Austin. He has reviewed them and has his own comments that we have sent over to Nathan for final cleanup in the PUD. We just, that about covers it.
Okay.
Super.
Administrators, is there anybody for or against this petitioner's request?
Anyone online now?
Anybody online?
So they're from Cocoa Beach?
Cocoa Beach?
They're sitting there in line, I've allowed them to talk, but nothing.
Okay.
Anybody for or against? Seeing none, closed session is closed. Commissioners, any comments, discussion?
No, we did this, special meeting as an extension from last week, so.
So they've got consideration of, dropping that, charge for each, property there. And they want that removed since the state's gonna cover
Correct.
That's what I
that.
heard, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they're asking for it to be approved as submitted, minus 18E is what I wrote down. And 18E was the $1,500 that we talked about 2 weeks ago in order to, go towards
Per unit.
I think right turn lane at the time, I think is what we were primarily talking about.
Well, it's already being funded and inspected by the county.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And as Nathan indicated, that that's gonna be covered by the state.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, my position hasn't changed much from the last time. This highway dumps out on the US Highway, and, I was good with it moving forward at the last meeting. But we did wait, and I think we did the right thing, but it's a state highway and it's a county. And if you break ground today, with the economy and the situation it is, who knows how long it would take to even have buildings there, right? That's my only comment.
Any other comments or discussion?
No, sir.
If not, then I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the rezone and preliminary plat, with the contingency of the immediate, top coat not be put down, but rather, recorded as discussed, by extending the performance bond. Did I say that correct, Don?
Saying keeping it in performance.
Keeping it in performance bond, and also, make the approval as submitted minus item 18E, which was the $1,500 per building. That's the end of my motion.
I would say contingent on our March 30th letter.
I would add contingent on Don's March 30th
Can
letter.
I also ask you to add the NDOT letter that was provided by Nathan?
Yeah.
Include the NDOT
Email.
email letter into the record.
And that motion was for the rezone and,
And preliminary plat, if you want to break them down separately, preliminary plat is the first one that comes up. Mr. Austin, can we do them both at the same time?
You can, I would ask you to consider adding, allow the attorneys
Yeah,
to
to
clean
turn
up,
it.
the parties to clean up the documents, as Nathan alluded to at the beginning, and that you will hold signatures pending completion of those documents, so that everything's clean.
But that won't hold us up from pulling permits and breaking ground?
It should,
Okay.
we were willing to let them dig dirt last time.
Yeah, so they like.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I would add the attorneys that work on the legal to the motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Foreman, and I will not repeat that long motion, it's in the record, so I ask
Good idea, Josh.
Rewind it and
Put it
listen.
down correctly. So I've got a motion on the floor,
And I'll second that motion.
second by Mr. Sharp. Roll call, please.
Mr. Carnahan?
Yes.
Mr. Foreman?
Yes?
Mr. Sharp?
Yes.
Mr. Caporo?
Yes.
Mr. Hunley?
Yes.
Thank you, Cindy,
Five. You got five.
Five. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Greatly appreciate the time that everyone has put into this project. Look forward to seeing you next time and look forward to putting up some buildings there.
Okay, good luck, Rob and
Yeah.
Dick and whoever, good luck. Thank you.
Whoever.
The team,
Especially
John.
whoever.
That's a TIF district too, folks, so this is gonna really benefit the community, I can tell you that.
So we took care of that B on there too.
Correct.
Okay, number 2, Culver site plan, owner petitioner, Cedar Lake RE LLC, John Ryan Terpstra, 11131 Fairbanks Court, Crown Point, vicinity of 9717 West 133rd Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana. I got it.
Good evening. Thank you for having us tonight, commission members, staff, town clerk and council, always a pleasure. We did receive a comment from Mr. Oliphant in the form of a letter recently. We did address the majority of those issues. There may be a couple that are outstanding that Mr. Oliphant may want to bring up tonight. We're here to answer any questions. As you know, we are attempting to develop a site with the common address of 9717 133rd Avenue here in Cedar Lake from its current condition as a closed Chase Bank branch, and raising that and developing a Culver's restaurant to be a good partner with the community here in the town of Cedar Lake. The site plan you should all have in front of you. You should have the full packet of our plan. It includes underground storm detention with detail that was sent to your engineer consultants for review. There are some pervious pavers now that were placed in that parking lot to comply with the exception to reduce the amount of stormwater detention that was required for the site. I think it was Mr. Foreman who brought that up at a previous meeting, so I thank you for that. We were able to accomplish that goal and that task. We do have a double drive-through there. There is an egress-only point on the eastern side facing north out of the drive lane areas. We made the pathway on the north side of the building going west a one-way traffic pattern to avoid any congestion there. The point of ingress and egress to the west facing north will have directional signage. There's also an ingress-egress pattern that goes out the south end on the west side of the property as well. There's a pass-through lane. We did remove that one parking stall that is diagonal outside of the drive window. The pass-through lane does allow for adequate space of emergency vehicles if there is an emergency that arises, to assure that not only the guests that may be in line or and queuing in that drive pattern can get out, and that emergency vehicles can get in and access that emergency. Let's see. We did, I think all the variances are in line with what the plan shows. I think we're ready to go as soon as we get approval from this commission, and we would recommend that this commission approve the site plan as submitted. And if there are any contingencies to that approval, we are amenable to discussing those as well. The engineer that we retained, Mr. Torringa, is also here. I'm not an engineer. I may play one on TV from time to time, but I know what I don't know. And
a holiday.
yeah, exactly. And so if there are any technical questions, Mr. Torringa can answer those. Otherwise, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Also, if there's public comment, I'd be more than happy to respond to that as well.
I would just comment, this is gonna be number 7, and then hopefully you can get number 8 in Munster.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Carnahan, for reminding me of the excitement of the town of Cedar Lake, but also the complication of the town of Munster. That is true, thank you.
Don, do you have any comments?
We issued a March 30th letter, again, recommending approval with several contingencies. Really, they're related to lighting. We just didn't get photometrics until this afternoon. They're nothing that will really change anything that'll be noticeable. And we have some two comments remaining on the stormwater report regarding the pervious pavers and then just one inlet. So we're good.
What's the date of your letter?
March 30th.
Okay, building department.
We have no additional comments at this time. Mr. Terpstra is correct in that last March he received, or this past March, he received all variances needed for the property to move it forward. 6 in total, I believe.
One made orally on the record during the hearing.
That is correct.
Okay, commissioners.
Well, it looks like we've missed this Lent for the walleye. Maybe next Lent?
Yes, but there are 6 other locations that you can.
I'm not interested in 6 other locations. And I don't care about Munster either.
Yep. Well, yes, we are excited about the Lenten season every year.
Yeah.
And walleye is a big hit.
It is.
So you'll definitely have walleye in the town of Cedar Lake next year.
You're super, thank you.
Out of our lake.
It doesn't have to be.
It depends how,
3 or 4 years, John.
it depends how deep you're dredging, yeah.
Not deep enough.
Any other comments, commissioners? If none, then we shall entertain a motion.
Mr. President, any motion have be contingent upon the conclusion of our 133rd corridor moratorium, which we are going to be acting on in 2 weeks.
And this won't affect it.
No, because by the time that's taken care of and permits are pulled, we should be good.
So it has to include that, is what you said?
Yeah, it should.
It should. It was similar to the BZA, just contingent on the conclusion of it.
Okay.
When are you pulling from?
ASAP?
When are you pulling from?
ASAP. As soon as I learn.
I'm trying to triangulate that into her.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
So, I can work with you guys too, I mean, we can coordinate that.
Okay.
Obviously, yesterday is best, but if we need to coordinate something, we can certainly coordinate that.
Trying to coordinate getting him going.
Get the walleye here.
Well, and I don't know, I mean, demo might be able to be pulled without the visibility on the overlay as well, because we're not,
That yesterday.
yeah, so.
He's got some work to do there.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the site plan for Culvers on 133rd, contingent on the 133rd moratorium being through its completion, as well as Christopher Burke Engineering's March 30th letter.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Mr. Foreman, second by Mr. Carnahan. Roll call, please.
Mr. Carnahan?
Yes.
Mr. Foreman?
Yes.
Mr. Sharp?
Yes.
Mr. Hunley?
Yes.
Mr. Caparo?
Yes, motion carries 5-0.
Great. Thank you all very much. We are excited about the partnership and we're looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Good luck. Thanks.
I've got a lot of people that are wanting to hear.
I know that. I also hear from them, so.
All right, any public comment? Any public comment?